So in this video, I'm going to be going over tips and tricks to help you crush these interviews. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Alexis and I am a third-year PhD student studying biological oceanography at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I applied to graduate school programs in oceanography and marine biology back in 2019. I wanted to give you a few tips that can also help you prepare other than just these list of questions. So the first is to really do your homework prior to any interview, whether it's a phone interview, a Zoom, or an in-person weekend interview. Make sure that you're researching the school, their mission, their values, what research is done in their department. It's a really good idea to look at who you're going to be interviewing with, what sorts of research do they do in their lab or program, and this also really helps you to know what kind of questions to expect from them, but also what sort of questions they can answer for you. So if you're interviewing with a potential advisor, you know that you should be really well prepared to talk about their research and your prior experience, why you're a good fit for their lab. However, if you're interviewing with just other random faculty, that's going to be more where you know a little bit about them, but it's not as important as knowing your potential advisor. But this is also where you can answer more general questions about the school or the department. So for example, you can ask about what the community there is like, what the culture is like, other things like that. More university-specific questions. 2, you really want to remember that an interview goes both ways. I found this extremely helpful to know that the interview goes both ways. Yes, they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them to see if that school is a good fit for you, if that advisor is going to be a good fit for you, or if that lab is for you. So because the interview goes both ways, you're going to want to prepare some questions for your interviewer that you can ask towards the end of the interview, because there's always going to be some time for, do you have any questions, or can I answer any questions for you? And you want to come prepared with questions. It doesn't look very good if you just have no questions, no follow-up. You want to prepare something, at least 1 to 2 questions. If you have any opportunity to talk to the graduate students in your lab or program that you're applying to, I would highly recommend talking to them, because they're going to be excellent resources when it comes to what is PhD student life like at that university or in that place. They're going to be more honest with you about faculty members, their experiences, what the lab or group culture is like, how happy grad students are there, is their salary livable for the place that they're in. So talk to the grad students, because they're very friendly and much less intimidating than any faculty members, and they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you which professors to avoid, which professors they've never heard anything bad about or had any bad experiences about. So these are excellent resources. They're really just there to help you. And getting to know them is really important, because you're going to be joining a cohort of grad students and this is going to be your new community. So I also left a list of questions that you can also ask your interviewers, and they're kind of separated by whether it's a potential advisor, random, or just other faculty member or grad student. So go check that out, because I think that could be really helpful. The next tip is to answer questions thoroughly, but also be concise. These interviews can be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, so you want to make sure that you're able to answer their question directly. You don't get too sidetracked or start going too much into personal stuff, or just going completely off track, not answering their questions. You want to give them time to get through the other questions that they had in mind, and also leave some time in the end for the questions that you had. So keep it succinct. Another tip and very important thing to remember is that if you're going on a recruitment weekend, treat the whole thing as an interview, not just the interview sessions. It's going to be an interview from the moment you arrive at the place, how well you carry yourself, how friendly you are with the other applicants, with the other people. There can also be some social events, mixers, dinners with faculty. So you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself and carrying yourself well in all of these situations. Sometimes there's drinks involved. So this is really, really important that you don't have too many drinks, don't get too crazy and like embarrass yourself, because it's all an interview. And if you get a little too drunk or crazy, they're probably going to find out about it some way or another through grad students. Yeah, not from like personal experience or anything, right? Just be careful, be smart, and yeah, be a nice person to be around from the beginning and end. You want to really do your best and like showcase yourself, your personality. Don't get too messy. Another tip I have is to create mock interviews if you can, so you can have your parents, your friends, maybe your current mentor help you out by asking you some of these questions so that you can help prepare some answers to these very common questions, such as tell me about yourselves, or why do you want to do a PhD? I think it really, really helps to not have a perfect script, but just some bullet points, some ideas or stories that you want to tell for each of the questions that answer those questions that they're asking. People said that it's really helpful to practice this aloud. You can also try practicing it in a mirror. Yeah, practicing aloud is a very good tip and something I did myself. My answer wasn't the same every single time because it wasn't very scripted, but I practiced telling the stories that I wanted to tell, how I got to where I am, how all of the different things I did in undergrad up until when I was sitting in that chair made sense and helped prepare me for grad school. Also, if you guys are interested in scheduling a mock interview, I would love to help you guys out, so just send me a DM on Instagram. That would be the easiest way to get a hold of me, and I would love to help you prepare for these interviews because I was once sitting in the interview chair. I know how stressful it could be and how nervous I was. So I would love to help you guys feel more comfortable and prepared going into your interviews. Another tip is just to remember that it's just an interview. It's not the end of the world. It's not as scary as you think it's going to be. It seems very nerve-wracking in the beginning, especially if you're a more introverted person. You know, there's a lot of socializing during these events. But yeah, it's not the end of the world if you don't have this perfect answer. It's really more important that you're just being yourself, being genuine, showing to them who you really are, what you're passionate about, what gets you really, really excited, what do you love about this program that you're applying to. So yeah, just be yourself. It's the most important thing you could do. Lastly, I think it's a really, really good idea to have a follow-up email saying thank you to everyone that you spoke with. Maybe it's not as important if you just spoke to random faculty, but you definitely want to send these to the potential advisors. And maybe you can mention something that you two talked about, whether it was academic or not. Just mention something specific so that they remember you. Thank them for taking the time to talk to you. And I think it's a really important idea to also reach out to the person that organized this weekend, because a lot of work goes into putting these events on, flying you out there, organizing a weekend of activities, social events. So yeah, really take the time to thank them because they were the ones that made it happen. And it's just nice to say thank you for someone that put so much effort into something. And also send a quick thank you to any grad students, specifically the ones in the program or lab that you're applying to, because it's nice, they'll remember you, and it's good to make a good impression with the grad students as well. So next, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what my interview experience was like, so you have an idea of a little bit what to expect for yours. So when applying to grad schools, I had to interview with potential advisors several times actually. And a lot of these interviews were just quick phone calls or Zooms, which you should treat very much as an interview because it will be an interview. So come prepared. most of these things apply in those interviews as well. I guess like formal interviews, I kind of only had one, which was a weekend recruitment event in Miami, Florida for University of Miami. This was the Rasmus School, which is their marine science program for grad students. This was sometime in February, I think end of February. They basically flew me out. So flight was paid for, hotel was paid for, all of my transportation was paid for or reimbursed. But yeah, I got to the hotel sometime in the afternoon, met all the other applicants in the lobby after checking in. I got my little packet with my schedule for the weekend. And then I think we had a like social mixer that night where we went to this one little like tiki bar. They had some light food and drinks for all of the applicants to kind of get to know each other. And I think also some grad students were there. I'm not really sure if I talked to any, but I do remember mostly just like mingling with the other applicants so that those were kind of like your friends or your buddies for the weekend. You knew who you were kind of directly competing with, which was a little bit weird, but it kind of warmed you up for the next day of interviews and talking to people from the program that you were going to be applying to. I remember my next day, which is maybe a Saturday, was like really packed with events. I think it started out with a seminar from a grad student on his research, and then a faculty member presenting on their research, then someone that introduced the programs that school had. So the different disciplines and the master's versus PhD tracks, some information on coursework, credits, I don't know, like ship hours, certain things that you needed. Then I think there was a little snack break, and then we went straight into our interview sessions, which is like pretty much a whole afternoon of back-to-back one-on-one interviews with faculty. So I think I had like maybe 5 different faculty members that I was talking to, and only 2 of them were potential advisors that I was interviewing with. And they were actually a joint lab, like husband and wife, so 2 different labs that collaborated a lot. So if one was your advisor, they both kind of were. So I know I talked to both of them, and these sessions were around 30 minutes to an hour. I think they're a little bit shorter for faculty that you were just talking to about the school, about the program, and then a little bit longer for the potential advisors. And then I know that some of these sessions were broken up into group interviews with grad students that were currently there. And it kind of felt like we just went into their offices, and maybe there were 1 or 2 of them or 3 of them together in that office, and they kind of talked to you. One was really, really chill. They kind of just ask me where I'm from, what I'm applying to, what research I've done. It was very, very chill, and I got to ask them a lot of questions about what graduate life was like for them there. And the next one was a little bit harder. It was 3 of them. I think they were all in the lab that I was applying to, and this one guy had this question like, if you can design any experiments that you want, what would you do? How would you do it? Tell me now, kind of thing. Like really putting you on the spot. And I remember being so annoyed because this was something I was totally just not prepared for. But I think it wasn't really important how I answered it or what experiment I wanted to do. He just kind of wanted to see how I thought about it when I was put on the spot. And I came up with something that was good enough. I didn't feel great about it afterwards, but I think it was okay. Then I had a grad student in my lab that I was applying to that was kind of taking me to and from each interview. So that was kind of nice. Then that day ended with a dinner and poster session. So you can go around looking at all of the research that the grad students were doing, but there were also food and drinks with faculty. So I remember actually talking to one of my potential advisors about this beer he was drinking because I had a bar on campus, which was really, really cool. But this felt a little bit more relaxed, and it was just kind of to get to know them on a personal level, less academic focused, or at least that's what it felt like. Then Sunday was a little bit more chill. I can't remember exactly what we did. Maybe there were some lab tours, and then they also took us on a boat ride around the bay. Then after the tour, they took us out to see the town. We had another like mixer event. We had a few options if you wanted to see the arts district or maybe you wanted to see the bars with different groups of grad students kind of leading those. I remember that was really, really fun. And later that night, all of the applicants went out just for drinks without any of the grad students or anything involved. So it was a good weekend, all paid for. We flew back the next morning or something. So yeah, that's just what my experience was like. And I ended up getting an admission letter from University of Miami. It seemed like I did well enough and those advisors were really, really interested in me. However, I decided to go with the University of Hawaii once I heard that I got accepted there. I actually wasn't invited to the recruitment weekend at UH Manoa, which is really, really interesting. So if you don't get an invitation, there's still hope. My advisor saw my application, was interested in me, and sent me a message that she would like to admit me, wanted to know if I wanted to meet. So we hopped on a Skype call, I think, and you know, same, there was this quick interview, but this was more like she was really interested in me. So it felt like way less stress, and she just told me a little bit about the project. I asked about her advising style, some questions like that, and then I was admitted into UH Manoa and ended up going with that one, which was a good choice. But yeah, the two experiences were very, very different, and I had no other interviews, but also I didn't get accepted into any other schools. All right, so that was my experience. I really hope that this video helped. If you guys enjoyed it or found it helpful, please give it a big like right now because it really, really helps me. And subscribe if you want to see more videos on what PhD student life is like here in Hawaii. All right, go watch my other videos. Thank you guys so much.